in Baltimore and having fun. Dennis Pitt is out with us, and Luke Jones is out with us again tonight. It's all for the Bone Marrow Registry, and for There Goes My Hero. And Fremont Mortgage sponsoring this, as always. Dennis Pitt and I, it's been almost 3 years since you've done a show with me.
Is that right?
Well, the last time you did. You got injured, and you were in the gurney thing at the Halloween party, and you dressed as a doctor.
I got injured, and then you didn't invite me out to do the radio anymore.
Forgotten man.
Oh man! See now.
It's cold.
Woo! I mean, Tucker got it in the first segment, and here we go.
I didn't forget you, Dennis.
Let's
Thank you, Luke.
Let's play the feud, as they say. All right. So look, I found the passage very quickly in Purple Rain 2 on Dennis Pitt, and it began. It's page 217. So you don't come into the story until page 217.
Yeah.
There's a lot of background. A lot of things happened.
You had a lot to say before you wanted to get to
Okay,
me.
so let's see where you fit in. All right, the hiring of John Harbaugh, the drafting of players, Ozzie Newsome in the process, Ray Lewis, O.J. Brigance, Ed Reed, the drafting of Joe Flacco, and then Joe Flacco, and then you come in. Is that fair?
You put Joe ahead of me? All right, that's fine.
Have you seen how much money he makes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
I
you
have,
had.
actually.
Okay, so yeah, so page 217, I say making friends in the NFL outside the building is very difficult because you spend so little time away from your teammates during the football season, and everyone there has a common purpose and goal to win the next week's game. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the best place to find a best friend, and Flacco's best friend on the team, has become Dennis Pitta, who arrived at the Castle in the 2010 draft. Like Flacco, Pitta was lightly recruited and a least likely guy to play in the NFL candidate coming out of high school. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. 100%.
Moore Park, California. So I wrote, and I'm going to take a little break from the book here, because he said, "You're Googling me, I'm in trouble." That's what he said. And you know what I Googled? I didn't know where Moore Park was. And I've known you however long, 6 years, 7 years, however long it's been. And we did a season of radio, but I wasn't always the one interviewing you, and it was always about this week's game. I thought you were from the East Valley of L.A., and it turns out you're north of Malibu, sort of near Oxnard, right? You're Semi Valley, is that right? Ronald Reagan Library, right?
Simi Valley.
Simi.
Yeah.
I don't know from Native American names. It's an old.
That's Native American?
I think it probably is. There are probably Indians. I don't know.
I don't know the origins of that one.
Native Americans, Indians, not Redskins though. We don't like them. Not the people, the football team. I didn't know you were from that part of the world. I really didn't. It looks relatively like L.A. Were you L.A.-centric in Lakersdom or Dodgerdom? I've never talked about other sports with you.
Yeah, I mean, we were Laker fans. We were Dodger fans. Yeah, we were close enough to L.A. We were just, we were about a half hour north of L.A. So with
traffic, that's 3 hours.
Yeah, with traffic, No, my dad worked in L.A. He commuted. I mean, his commute was probably an hour and a half or so every day with traffic. And, yeah, we were part of the L.A. fabric a little bit, but we were just far north where we got out of the
it's not like being in L.A. where you are. It looks relatively, quiet where you are.
Yeah. No, it was a great place to grow up. You ever heard, where Calabasas is?
I do know where Calabasas is.
You ever heard of the Kardashians?
I have a friend that lives in Calabasas. Yeah, they have lots of brush fires there.
They do.
They do.
Yeah, it's up in the hills. It's a glitzy place.
You want to go back to reading?
Sure.
Yes. So I said here, so how did these two become? I went on through Cal Berkeley, late 60s. Father was a middle linebacker, okay, Pitters, whose father was a middle linebacker, Cal Berkeley in the late 60s. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Was a wide receiver and also a scholar athlete and an Eagle Scout who received interest from Dartmouth and Yale, but was never offered a Division I college scholarship, correct?
Correct.
Man, you were smart, like Ivy League.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ivy League smart.
Mormon chose to attend Brigham Young, walked on to the Cougars as a wide receiver before Gary Croton moved him to tight end. Gary Croton spent a lot of time in the NFL. While his pal Flacco was spending time running the Delaware scout team, so this is when Flacco transferred, you were in the Dominican Republic doing your mission.
Yeah.
What'd you learn in the Dominican Republic? I want to hear something about the Dominican, because I've never talked to you about this. ¿Habla español?
Hablo.
Yeah, all right, man. All right, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Un poquito.
I didn't know you knew anything. I mean, that's a pretty basic phrase, but that's impressive. Do you know anything else?
Sí. Gracias.
Yeah, you don't know a thing.
I know
No
enough. I'm
comprendo.
Venezuelan.
You don't know a
I'm
thing.
gringo.
I talked to, the guys that work in our cafeteria over the facility, right? Manny and those guys. I talk to them in Spanish all the time.
And what do you say?
We just talk bad about you normally. That's about it.
back to the book. So how did these two become friends? And here's where I start quoting you guys from your shows back when you liked each other, before you were champions. Well, we like to say it's because our wives are friends, Flacco laughs. We're two goofy guys and enjoy doing the same things. Our idea of a good night is a good meal, a movie, and maybe playing cards at the house. There's no opportunity outside of work to have a social life in Baltimore. It's not like a normal job where you develop relationships and have free weekend, so it's nice you have some time to spend with people you like. And how's that translated on the field? Well, I don't look to Dennis more because he's my buddy, but I trust him as a great receiver. It gets a good matchup. He'll get the ball. It's all about reading my progression. So here's the answer to why you haven't scored a touchdown this year. You ready? I look to throw where the defense tells me to throw. So there you have it. Is that good? And you still said nice things about it. You said about Joe, he is poised and confident, and he's a strong and accurate passer. He can get the ball anywhere on the field at any time, and that's dangerous against secondary. He has the strongest arm I've ever seen.
I said that? I take it back.
And then I went through one of the great experiments of your marriage, my marriage, Joe's marriage, the Fu Manchu.
It was a dark time.
So I used Google to bring it up. 1 to 10, how ridiculous did you look versus me versus Joe? Joe, it's a tie between me and Joe. I mean, you look kind of handsome with it, I thought. But Joe and I, not at all.
I don't. I look terrible in that picture.
You look like the bad guy in a movie in Pittsburgh.
You definitely look the worst. But Joe actually grows a pretty good mustache.
But the hook was really, we were trying to all figure out whether when we were growing it. So it was my idea that night. Well, Flacco, you guys are grown, and I approached Joe, and everybody in the media room was laughing at Joe. It was Thanksgiving. It was after we beat San Francisco.
Thanksgiving game.
And Joe came in with the Fu Manchu, and they were giving him a hard time about it. And Morgan Cox, it just didn't work, right? I mean, it just never.
The hair was too red. It didn't work.
His was the worst.
It was very Chia Pettish.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. And I ran into Joe. I said, are you doing this for a charity, or are you guys serious about doing it? Because if you are, I'll grow one. I'll get a cartoon. We'll have some fun with it. And we did. And we had a good time with it right on up until things didn't go so well in New England that day. But we really, really looked ugly.
That was a pretty good run, though, all the way to the AFC Championship.
They were all bushy. So we had about 8 weeks to see. I mean, I would see him every Wednesday. How's yours doing or whatever? And it just, by the time we got to New Year's Day, it was just a pain in the butt to trim it. And you're trying to keep it right. And your wife's, none of our wives were happy. I'm not going to lie to you.
It was tough going out in public where people didn't know you were joking with the mustache. They thought you were serious.
This was your new look.
Yeah, it
was great, man.
It's tough to pull off.
We played in San Diego in December, and I bought a pair of funny sunglasses that had the Fu Manchu hanging from it, and everyone was taking pictures and putting it on Facebook with the hanging mustache. And I thought, so there will be no Fu Manchu this year. There's no gimmick other than scoring touchdowns, right? That's the gimmick this year.
Dennis Pitta touchdowns.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet, but I would love to. I would love for that to be the gimmick. Touchdowns every week.
It sounds like you're obsessed with scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm not that. I think you guys are obsessed with me scoring a touchdown.
Well,
I would very much invite it, but
will that really mean? Not just mean 6 points or whatever, but from your comeback perspective. We all see this comeback is coming. We saw you catching balls. There'd be nothing better than winning a championship, but is the touchdown thing something that you want to spike the ball? That's a feeling that only someone that scores a touchdown knows what it feels like.
I don't spike the ball when I score a touchdown.
You act like you've been there before.
Yeah, you just toss it to the ref. No, I don't think it has anything to do with a comeback. I'm in my mind, I've come back.
That's over.
Yeah, it's not like I need a touchdown to solidify my comeback. That's not how I think. I'm just trying to do the best I can this year, and I feel like I've already come back. I'm feeling great and healthy. So, all
right, we come to the football.
It's not part of it.
I'm going to let Luke ask football questions. That's what he likes to do.
Was there a moment, whether it was training camp this summer or early in the season, where you took a specific hit and you got up and you were fine and you thought, "Oh, I got it"? Because I remember Joe said early in the season he at some point got hit in the knee, and for a second he reacted, but then he said, "Hey, I'm fine." Was there a moment like that for you?
I missed most of training camp, but
Joe pointed that out.
Getting in a fight.
No, that's a long story. I didn't. I mean, I didn't get in a fight. A lot of people think I threw a punch, which is stupid. I mean, he's got a helmet on. I didn't throw a punch. What I did was I grabbed the face mask and slung him to the ground with it, which was a great move. Problem is, my finger got caught in the face mask as he was going to the ground, and that's how it broke. But
that's 15 yards in the real world.
Yeah, but we weren't in the real world.
We were. It was a stadium practice. Yeah,
you got to know where you can take your shots. But what were we talking about?
I was talking.
Yeah, we got off on the fight tangent. I don't even know what question.
Well, I asked you about training camp, and then you said
when I knew.
Was there a moment when you said, "All right, all of this feels normal. I'm playing. I got hit. No big deal."
Well, it felt normal all along, but I think when I took a really big, it was the Cleveland game, so week 2, and I took a really big shot just right on the hip, and it was fine. So that's when I really knew, I guess. But I kind of knew all along. I wouldn't have been out there had I not known. So.
I guess as fans, we see the injuries and, whether people complaining on the 4-game losing streak or complaining during the 4-game winning streak. As I remembered, nobody was happy we were 4-0 because we didn't beat the right teams. Injuries are such an incredible part of this, man. And I see it with Gronkowski today, even psychologically from the fan base, from everywhere. It's like, going to be a lot harder for them to win without him. Now, we went out to those games in New York. Luke and I drove up there both weeks. No Smith, no Mosley, no Yanda, no Jimmy Smith at one point, no Suggs, no Doomerville. No one wants to make any excuses about that, but when I look back and now I see the team assembled again, and Suggs is playing with one arm and Marshall's playing with one shoulder, we're a heck of a lot better team. And I don't want to throw money, but with $10 million football players and veteran guys who know what they're doing, who are very good at what they do, that next man up thing it's nice to talk about it, but it's a whole different thing making that happen, especially when it's 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, this is it's a league of attrition. You got to be healthy at the right times. You got to have your best and most experienced players on the field when it really matters. And December football is really when it matters. So to have guys like Suggs and Yonda and Jimmy Smith and those guys out there, it's huge. It makes a big difference. It's they get paid for a reason, and they're starters for a reason. It's not that anybody can do what they do, and so we're like we said, we're getting healthy at the right time, and to make a good little run here.
Have you had bragging rights in the tight end room that you've been the one guy who's played every game this year?
Luke, you would ask me that. Here's the thing, remove my hip injury, which was
Gone. It's over.
I've been pretty durable in my career. Yeah. And I actually got asked this question the other day.
And I was there when he bristled. He bristled to me after the media left.
Yeah.
You did.
Well, I mean, you get painted with these, you get painted as an injury-prone guy, which it's justified. The last couple of years I've had, hip injuries. But aside from that one injury, which is, caused me to miss the last couple of years. I mean, I didn't miss a game in college, and really was healthy through my first 4 seasons. And one injury that turned into another just is kind of what derailed me the last couple of years. And so, I mean, and so everybody's so surprised that I've been healthy this year, which I expected nothing less. You obviously can't predict it, and football, the injury rate in the NFL is 100%. At some point, you're going to get injured, but. I didn't expect to come in this year and get hurt again. That wasn't my expectation, and that's not why I came back. So, I feel like I was going to be able to get through the year, and that's why I'm here.
Has it been fun to work with the young guys? Though I can recall back in training camp, this was when every single question we were asking you at that point was still about your health. And at one point, I remember I'm going to ask him something else. I'm going to ask him about the competition. I mean, you had 6, 7 tight ends on this roster in the preseason. Has it been fun kind of taking on that more of a veteran role and working with some of these younger guys in the process?
Heap was that guy for you, right? And Shannon was that guy for him, right?
Yeah, Todd was a great mentor for me, and Todd and I are still really close friends today. I mean, it's been good. It's always nice to have young, energetic guys in the room, and we have a great tight end room, with Darren and Nick Boyle and Crockett, and unfortunately Max is on IR now, but it's a great group of guys, and it's been a lot of fun to be with them and help kind of teach them the ins and outs of the position, and
Did you get to meet Ben a little bit? You worked with him for a while, right?
I guess I should have mentioned Ben,
Yeah.
but he's not one of the young guys. You know, he's a lot older than I am. So Ben's a great guy.
What a great guy!
And I interact with Ben every day. You know, he's still over there rehabbing and doing his thing. And you know, there's not many better guys in the NFL than Ben Watson. So it was a lot of fun being able to work with him and learn from him. You know, this off season. And unfortunate for him that he went down the way that they did. But he's been a great mentor for those guys as well.
Off season in your tenure here, because we're so darn good. I mean, to be honest, most years we're losing guys that are good football players. Art Joneses and Ellerbys. We can just go through the list. Not to mention Ray and Ed and the guys that left. Haloti, Todd. Early on in your stay, those guys were leaving. This was an off season where, because we were bad last year, because we drafted early, because there was some cap room, because some things were clearing out, you bring in Ben Watson, you bring in Eric Weddle, you bring in Mike Wallace, these veteran guys, and now Ben aside, who hasn't been able to play, thankfully you've been able to play, and there's been someone there to play at a high level. Boy, Eric Weddle, and we'll talk about Wallace in a minute, but I can't think of, and I like you, and I like Todd Heap, and I have a lot of guys I like. I've known Eric, 5-6 months, whatever. He's as good of a human being. I mean, I don't know what the Chargers were thinking. Just in sort of mistreating him on top of it. But I can't imagine that you wouldn't want that guy on your team, period.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you. You just got to be able to look past the beard a little bit. And he's a pretty good guy underneath it all.
What's really weird is every time I talk to him, every time I talk to Eric Weddle, he's brushing his beard. Because he's always like somebody out of the shower, putting his clothes on, and I'm at his locker, and he's brushing his beard. And I'm like, people would pay to see. This is an event. This is an extravaganza. Watch.
It's an art form.
It is an art form.
I think every time I talk to him, he's brushing his beard. he's got his big brush, and he's just, yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
He loves that thing.
He's a good guy, though. Yeah, he's quickly become, one of my good friends on the team. And, he played at, my rival, University of Utah. It's a big rivalry, BYU-Utah.
So did Smitty. You ganged up on in there, right?
Well, a little bit. We got a couple BYU guys.
Right.
But, he's a great guy, and we've quickly become friends. Our wives are really good friends now, too. So not many better guys than him around. And
did you know that about him coming in?
I didn't know much about him.
Well, you're just trying to get on the team, right? I mean, literally. All spring and summer, you're like, I got to get out here and actually do this. You had to go win a job.
Yeah. We golfed a lot in the off season together, and I didn't know him prior to him signing here. I'd met him a few times just, playing the Chargers, every year. But we just kind of quickly hit it off, quickly became friends. And, he's really a good guy.
I think he
great to have in the locker room.
He made a great decision. You know what I mean? Like, I thought about this back in the spring, and my dear friend Dan Pompey that I worked with at Sporting News many years ago had sort of the inside reporter access to write the story of Eric Weddle's free agency and, what happened and who was courting him, and the Steelers wanted him and the Raiders wanted him. And, he kind of had a pick, and he picked Baltimore. And I say to fans all the time, like, the real blessing began when Billick got here, right before Billick got here, that the Saraguses and the McCrarys and the Woodsons and the Sharps started picking here. And when guys like Trevor Price showed up from other places, they're like, this is a great place to be. And Brian made it a great place, and John has made it a great place. And a guy like Eric Weddle could have gone to kick our butts and anywhere he could have gone. We're also good places to be. I think if you're a free agent and Mike Tomlin's courting you, Pittsburgh's an attractive place for your player. But he picked here, and I think that said a lot, and I talked to him about it. That said a lot about him, but it also said what a guy like you would mean, or Steve Smith or Flacco would be good for him,
Yeah, and, I've talked to him, too, about, the decision he had to make, and the Cowboys were also in that mix. And, I think when you talk to guys around the league, everyone has a good impression of the Baltimore Ravens and the organization. And, obviously it starts with our great owner and our tremendous facilities. And so from the top down, we have a very good reputation around the league, which helps. It helps being able to land guys like Eric Well in free agency. And so, that's always an attractive thing for guys. And I think, Eric wanted to come to Baltimore because of, he wanted to win football games. And I think that's what, we've established ourselves at. Being a playoff team over the last decade or so, and he knew he'd be a part of a good defense, which is obviously certainly important to him. And like you said, I think he made a great decision.
Mike Wallace, the fastest player you've played with?
I don't know. I mean, I thought Torrey was pretty fast. You know, you can line all those guys up and have a foot race. I mean, Mike's pretty fast, but yeah, I mean, we've had some fast guys around here, but no, he was. It was surprising how good of a receiver he was. You know, we played against him a ton when he was in Pittsburgh, and you know, I think he got lost in the shuffle the last couple of years, but you know, when he came here, he stood out right away as a guy who ran really good routes, and obviously his speed was you know, next level. But yeah, we you know, Mike's been tremendous.
So if I get the right Purple Rain 3, I'll get you in before page 217 because you're one of the sort. But there's something. Joe comes back from the kind of injury he does. Steve Smith, heinous injury. Suggs, 2 heinous injuries. Now playing with his arm in a sling. Yonda, you know, cattle prod aside many moons ago. He's now out there banging around with one shoulder. I mean, you know, Jimmy Smith gets through the Lees Frank, injured again, trying to get out there. We're trying to get all the pieces put together. I mean, there is a real story of physical battles and I mean, it's an NFL story, like you said. Everybody gets hurt, but Joe didn't get hurt much, you know, other than the playoffs many moons ago. But it feels like all of you, to some degree, have done something relatively supernatural that I would say 15 or 20 years ago, football players didn't come back from that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of the injuries that we're describing, you know, people didn't come back from. You know, lesser athletes like Bo Jackson didn't come back from a hip injury like I did. So,
hold on, let me rewind that. I think I heard
lesser athletes.
Hold on, might be time for a break.
you know, can you tell I've used that joke before?
I like it.
Yeah, man, he's got a million of them. This guy. Give it up for Dennis Pitta. We're out here at Green Mountain Station. We'll come back to one more segment. Luke Jones is here. It's all for There Goes My Hero and the Bone Marrow Registry, brought to you by Freedmont Mortgage. Carl Delmont's in here. Go support the Harrisburg Heat. We got Heat players out here tonight. Go Heat. Yeah. I'll say that in Spanish. It's fine. How do I say go Heat in Spanish? Heat caliente. Hey, there you go. I knew caliente. I knew that. There you go. That's heat. That's caliente. That's hot. We're back for more on WNST.net right after this.